everybody. This is Kevin Miller with the All Equity Podcast. And I'm super excited today because I get to meet and hang out with the one and only Aaron. And Aaron, tell the people a little bit about yourself and what you do and how we connected.
Yeah, well, we connected on LinkedIn. Yeah, that's why I love LinkedIn. LinkedIn is how I got to Colorado. So Aaron Griffen, Vice President, VP of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at DSST Public Schools here in Denver, Colorado.
Woo.
Originally from Corpus Christi, Texas. Shout out to Roy Miller High School, Hillcrest, Northside. I always got to give a shout out to my childhood friends. Went to Prairie View A&M University, historically Black College and University, 45 miles northwest of Houston. Stayed in the Houston area, became an English teacher for 7 years, then an assistant principal for 8 years, all at the same school. So I was there for 15 years before being on LinkedIn, connecting with people, and got connected to a superintendent in Colorado Springs, Colorado, who messaged me about a potential opportunity. I was in the market for applying to be a principal, so I definitely jumped at the opportunity to apply to be a principal. It was a high school position, and I got the job. So for 4 years, I was a principal in Colorado Springs before wifey told me that we're going to move to Aurora, Denver, so you can't take your high school with you. So do an equity job, and the job that came available was in DSST Public Schools, and I was the first Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. I got across the DEI department with a coordinator of DEI. 2 years later, just got promoted in July to VP. I have a new manager of DEI, and we're rocking and rolling. Me and my wife also run our own independent consulting company, Prosperity Educators, where we work with organizations and individuals on that DEI work, strategic planning, organizational planning. My wife does professional learning communities. We do a lot of PD and document analyzing, urban policy and analysis, and yeah.
Wow. And you also got a PhD. Don't forget that.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You got a PhD. Yeah, my PhD is from Texas. Yeah, I got a PhD in curriculum and instruction with an emphasis in urban ed from Texas A&M University.
Oh, hearing this right now. This is crazy. So here's the thing. For those of you who are not familiar with what someone like yourself, a position of VP in that particular space, what you actually do on a day-to-day, what does that look like when you get in the office?
Well, right now we're not in the office. We're online. So, but basically, I've only been in that role for 3 months now. So I can take you back to when I started as Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. Mm-hmm. So a lot of my work was dealing with partnering with all 15 of our schools in the network, where it was 14 at the time. Now we're at 15. So we're a public charter organization. 14 of our schools are in Denver Public Schools. One of our schools is in Aurora, Science and Technology. In the state of Colorado, charters cannot operate independent from a school district. So all of our charters are charters. There are no private charters in the state of Colorado. That's in the law. So my role was to literally partner with schools, partner with departments across the home office network, partner with community people, and try to really drive the work, starting where we were and moving forward. When I started, we had already, DSST started their work in 2013-14 already. I came on in 2018. So that my department came out of that work. They had an equity working group, and they made a recommendation that somebody on the inside had to own the work instead of outside consultants.
So what was that turning point? What was was there an incident or something happened, or?
That's the interesting thing. It was not an incident. It was not a lawsuit. What it was we worked with the National Equity Project. Mm-hmm. And the person I work with is Stephen Chang. Shout out to Stephen, does a lot of work. Stephen. And what happened is that they established an equity working group. And the equity working group came up with 8 paradigm shifts. And one of those paradigm shifts was equity is core. And out of equity is core, they said, how can equity be core if we don't have anybody in the organization owning and guiding this work? So out of the equity paradigm shifts, that was one of the things that were recommended, is that we have a DEI department. And then the second thing was changing our core value language to make it more inclusive. So I came in right when they had changed our core value language to have we in there to make it much more inclusive, much more diverse and equitable. And I started in May 1st of 2018. So that's the work I did as director. As VP,
Gotcha.
now I have a manager. I'm on the senior leadership team. So now I always had the ear of the chiefs because my boss is the talent officer anyway. Now as VP, I'm in the meetings every week.
Gotcha.
1 hour, I'm sitting in the meeting with our chiefs, which is our CEO, the chief talent officer, chief of academics, chief marketing and communications officer,
Yep.
our chief of staff, and our chief operating officer. So I sit at that table with 3 other vice presidents, VPs, VP of academics, VP of schools, and VP of development, our grant person. So I sit at the senior leadership table. I sit as a part of multiple steering committees, including our e-school, launch of e-school committee, our hybrid learning committee. I'm also on the social emotional awareness committee. So my role has now put me at a lot of decision-making tables because I'm a senior leader. In addition to that, the way my manager and I operate, so even if we were in school, the way I function is I do a lot of my work at the home office level, focusing on our goals and our cross-functional strategies. So I'm literally meeting with somebody from the communications team, the operations team, the academics team, the culture team, every single week. Like I'm helping guide development for our school directors, which are principals, the assistant principals for the deans. So I'm a part of that development strand, but I'm also a part of the student services strand on student wellness and on staff wellness. So I'm a part of all of that while my manager is partnering with all the schools now. So that person, they are taking care of all the schools. We have DEI liaisons on every campus. We have equity working groups on every campus. They also run the affinity groups. I partner with 6 schools. They partner with 9 schools, and I own the work with the chiefs, the board of directors. We're doing some inclusive leadership work with them. I own all community partnerships. So that's how my role in VP has expanded from the director role. Now my role expanded beyond. I mean, I was already expanded, and they said that's why they moved me to VP because they said I was doing a lot of this work already. But now it's expanded even further now because
and now, the tech math.
Like I meet with the CEO every 2 weeks. Like every 2 weeks, the CEO and I sit down for 30 minutes. I give him an update on our DEI initiatives. He gives me development on the spot development about me being more of a manager versus a leader and utilizing the resources around me because he knows I'll get my hands dirty. I jump in. And now he's actually coaching me along with my boss, the chief talent officer, on how to utilize the resources in the network in order to drive the work. Because his charge to me is you are not the sole architect of this work. You are the leader.
You're not the flag of the DEI.
I am the final D. I'm the decision maker. But utilize the people in the schools, utilize the teachers, we have 3 paraprofessionals who literally led DEI sessions for us. That's a first. We hadn't had that.
That's really cool.
This year, 2 front office managers and a teacher support aide led DEI sessions the last couple of weeks. So that's what happens, in my current role. They're forcing me to let go. A little bit.
Woo! I can hear it like in your voice, like how excited you are about this. And I think that's, a lot. I talk to a lot of DEI consultants, and one of the things I know for a fact is that either you love this work or you feel like it's taxing.
Oh yeah.
It's either this thing, like it's like the monkey on your back, or it's you were called to do this.
Yeah.
And so take me back. When in your past, where was that light bulb moment for you when you said, okay, I'm not going down the corporate ladder anymore. I'm not going to try to be some business bigwig. I want to do this, and I'm going to make real change, and I'm going to be a boss doing it. When did that happen?
Okay. Well, my 3rd year Prairie View, I didn't say junior year, I said 3rd year. Let's be clear with that. My 3rd year in Prairie View, I pledged. I had a great time.
Nice.
And I wound, it wasn't because I pledged. And my friends, sisters, my non-Greek, it wasn't because of them. I made a decision not to go to class anymore because I was just tired. My mom was going through some sicknesses, and I was just tired. And I started doing a lot more drinking at that time.
Yep.
And I got 6 Fs in one semester. I'll never forget that. I got 6 Fs. And I thought, but I went to an HBCU. So the thing about HBCUs is they do a little extra to keep you. I'm not saying PWIs don't, but
a lot of people don't know that. I actually didn't because I didn't go to HBCU.
So I'm gonna tell you what they did. I got put on academic probation, and in the summer I had to get a 3.0 with 12 hours. So I got my 3.0 with my 12 hours, got reinstated off of probation, changed my major from engineering to English because I said I can write, I can talk. I like hip hop. I like Shakespeare. This is what I'm gonna do. Became an English teacher. Walked in, looked at the curriculum, and said, "Why in the world is the Harlem Renaissance not in the curriculum? Why is Langston Hughes not here? Why are we only talking about?" So I immediately started incorporating hip hop
equity lines
and everything in there, and I would just let kids talk. Like my class was loud, but I had no classroom management problems. I think over 7 years, I had, what was it? They had a fight. She put gum in her ear, and they play fight. I had 5 office referrals in 7 years. 5. That's it. 2 boys' fault because I was outside talking about something else. I should have been in the room. A girl put gum in another girl's hair, so that was like simple assault in the state of Texas. And 2 boys were play fighting, and I wasn't in the mood that day. They caught me in the wrong day, and they were play fighting. I said, "Go to the office." And as soon as they went, I went, "Dog, they ruined my record." They just caught me that day. But 5 referrals, and I had the emotionally disturbed kids, but I let kids talk. And I learned that if you just let kids talk and let kids engage and bring in, we would talk about The Simpsons. We would talk about figurative language used in movies. I would put Eminem, the non-cursing version, like I was cursed with this curse is just cursed. I put that on the board and let kids debate for 15 minutes. What figurative language was that? Some said it was personification. Some said it was a metaphor. Some said it was this. I put Bubba Sparks. I didn't choose to rhyme. Rhyming chose me. I'm about to hit the track running like a nosebleed. Put that on the board, and kids debated what figurative language was being used, and I just sat there.
That's dope.
So I learned. I said, maybe you just let these kids talk and do their thing. They do it. So I did that as an English teacher, became an assistant principal because I said, you know what, I got to change.
Whoa, how did you become an assistant principal? You were an English teacher. A lot of people don't know how that works.
So in the state of, not in the state of Texas, but in our district, you had to be a teacher for 3 years, and then you could apply to be an AP. I'm glad you stopped me because what happened is my first month as a teacher, I didn't like the curriculum. So I said, I'm going to go be a superintendent so I can change the curriculum. So I went back to Prairie View, drove down to Prairie View, walked in and said, I need my paperwork to be a superintendent. They said, "Baby, you look young. How old are you?" I said, "I'm 25. They said, "How did you become a principal so fast?" I said, "Oh, I'm not a principal. I'm an English teacher. I just started teaching." They said, "Baby, you got to be a principal first." I said, "Well, give me that." So I got my principal license. 7 years later, I get promoted to assistant principal in the same school. Remembering what I did, I started doing PD. I didn't know it was cultural responsiveness and relevance. I didn't know that's
right, because you're just being yourself.
I was just being myself. If you look at the body of research, teachers of color tend to be culturally responsive and relevant. The problem we run into in the classroom is that when the organization does not allow us to teach according to ourselves. And that's why when people say race matching doesn't work, it doesn't work when you don't allow a teacher of color to be their full authentic selves when they teach. If you force me to be Eurocentric, then I'm not going to be successful because that's.
And what happens when you force somebody to be Eurocentric? What path do they go down? What are the consequences?
This is what happens. Feelings of isolation, feelings of being invisible, racial battle fatigue, microaggressions, all the stuff comes up. And then eventually we get burnout very quickly. We get burnout within a year. And within 3 years, we're either out of education or we're out of that school or we're terminated because they say we're not a culture fit or something. So
let's stop there for a second because the terminated part, that happens to so many people. So what? Okay, devil's advocate. So the leader, right, the white corporate leader or the white principal, superintendent, they're concerned, why can't I retain Black and brown, authentic educators, what's going on. And in your opinion, what you're saying is probably that it's the burnout because of what they're really feeling and not expressing it. How do those leaders, those white leaders, become better allies to create that safe space for them to really show up to work as their real self?
Well, let me clarify. That's not an opinion, that's a fact. There's a whole body of research that has, where teachers of color and leaders of color have named these things as issues.
Right.
So the leader, the white leader, they become an ally by first acknowledging that they have a bias. They need to acknowledge very seriously, I have a bias that's resulting in me not being able to retain teachers of color or leaders of color. They have to own that. What's happening is they don't own it.
And what does owning it look like?
So I'm gonna tell you what it's called when they don't. It's called, with white leaders, it's called white fragility.
Right.
Okay. When black leaders do it, it's fragility. Everybody has a fragility. Everybody has it. So what that looks like is they get questions about, hey, why can't you retain staff of color or whatever? And they do the victim blaming, the deficit theory. And what happens is they blame that person for their inability to fit into the organization. As if when I come to work there, I'm supposed to fit in. You hired me for a specific skill set.
Yeah.
But when you minimize me and take away who I am, my skill set is thus diminished because my skill set is a part of my personality.
And they don't separate the two when it really should be.
Separate the two. But see, think about it. That's what happens to children. You have children coming to the school, and in schools, we want them to leave that part of them in the neighborhood. They can't do that. So then when they don't leave that in the neighborhood, then it becomes problematic. So for adults, it's the same thing. And then we show up in team meetings and things like that, and we're silent. We're quiet. And they're saying we're not participating because you basically showed me, you didn't have to tell me, you showed me that my voice does not matter. My expertise does not matter. My knowledge does not matter. Because every time I make a recommendation, y'all say, well, this is what we do. Oh, that's nice, but that's not how we do that.
And then what about the disciplinary part of that too, right? So like if someone raises, whistle blow, okay, well, you're fired now.
And then what happens from that is, if you look at the research, again, this is a fact. If you look at the data will tell you that Black and brown teachers are more likely to be in Title I schools, which are high poverty schools, or turnaround situations. Majority of principals of color are in start off, well, I'm not gonna say that because I can't prove that data. But a lot, I'm gonna say many principals of color, I was one, are in turnaround schools.
Gotcha.
And if you look at the data, the recidivism rate, not the recidivism rate, the retention rate is much lower for teachers of color and leaders of color. Because a lot of times we are in tough situations. We're not in the schools that are controlled, quote, quote. We're in schools where they have a lot of turnover and a toxic culture. So then we stay 1 to 3 years and we're out. The leader may stay 1 to 2 years and he or she's out. So that's what happens. So when I became an assistant principal, I immediately started focusing on how to make the environment more culturally responsive. I didn't know that's what it was called. I called it multicultural. So we started putting we started doing the banks and banks model, which I didn't know at the time, but we started putting representation in the hallways. We had Spanish cognate vocabulary in all the hallways. We pushed teachers to put representation in the hallway. I pushed back on Black History Month a little bit, and I'm like, why are y'all putting Michael Jordan in the back there and Tiger Woods? And they said, well, it's Black History Month. I said, the kids don't know them. I said, I work right here in this school, and you don't have me up there? I said, why isn't my face back there? And they said, well, who are you? I said, I'm the doggone assistant principal. And I'm a former English teacher, and I'm a former coach. I am just as important as Tiger Woods and Michael Jordan. Just because they're millionaires and on TV don't mean that they hit. The kids can touch me.
I was just having this conversation the other day. I'm glad you brought that up. So my background, right? One of the weird things is people will do that ageism thing, right? Oh, he's 25, right? But clearly I've accomplished more than a lot of people do in their life. People know that about me.
Yeah.
But they're gonna put well, he's not Steve Jobs. He's not da-da-da. He's not, right? Okay, so here's the reality of the situation when I look at it, right? So there's not a lot of people who not only survived tech, walked away, then became a founder, then empowered thousands of people, changed hundreds of people's lives, and then didn't go the whole, I'm going to go sell out and go get bought out by this white dude that's a billionaire and go talk and only hang out with them now.
Yeah.
Right? So that, like, I feel like that's like such a microaggression, right? Where people don't want to acknowledge people like you, people like me who really are on the ground floor, who've been doing this. I've been mentoring kids for 10 years.
Yeah.
And so people are like, oh, Kevin, now that you're visible, you should start mentoring kids. You should join our program. I'm like, excuse me? Like, did you not do your homework, man?
Nope.
Okay, so and I think that's also, people do that because they don't want to believe that you are like a Tiger Woods.
Yeah.
And it bothers them that they don't see that excellence in themselves.
Precisely, because see, I see it in me. Like, okay, I don't play golf, but Tiger Woods don't write books.
Right.
I can't dunk, but Michael Jordan don't publish articles.
Right.
I remember a while back, it was my brother. He made a joke, it was when Allen Iverson got a big time contract, and he made a comment. He said, yeah, you got a master's degree, but he was joking with me. He said, you got a master's degree, but Allen Iverson just signed a $100 million contract. And I looked at him and I said, and Allen Iverson can't write like me, he can't talk like me, he can't speak like me. So in 20 years, holler at me. And he guy looked at me. It's been almost 20 years. Okay. Nothing against the man. I just said in 20 years, holler at me. Because I know the research. I see what happens sometimes when athletes are not controlling their money well.
Yep.
And they talk about he went broke. I don't know if he went broke, but this happens more than what people know. Athletes and entertainers go broke frequently. People really don't know that. That is a normal thing for athletes to go broke. I'm like, dude, I have something that can never leave me. Is my education. That can never go away from me. And I can do it. I said, I can become a millionaire too, eventually, if I focus on it. I'm not focused on it. I'll be honest, I'm not. Yeah, I prayed on it. Yeah, God make me a millionaire. Yeah, we all done that. But it's not like I'm out here trying to be a millionaire. I like what I do here. This is the work.
And it's because that the formula is simple. It's like the more people, the more lives you change, the more you turn that heat up.
Yes.
More visibility on your brand, the more excellence, and the money follows.
Precisely.
And you've always known that.
Precisely. So what was it? What was that movie? It was with Chris Rock. I Think I Love My Wife. And they thought he was cheating on his wife, and the owner, the CEO, took a quarter. He said, you make a lot of money for us. He said, this is what you make. And he put it on the table. He said, this is how much what you make means to this company. He said, if you chase skirts, you will never get the money. But if you chase the money, I was like, wow, that was pretty deep. So my thing is, I don't like try to focus on getting money. Yes, I have another revenue stream now. Once my books get published, that'll be another revenue stream because I do consulting. But it's not about chasing money. It's about me, like you said, doing the work. I do the work in the network. I do the work privately. I do the work individually. I'm about to partner with someone in Hawaii who used to live in Colorado Springs. So I'm doing some leadership development for that individual. I do leadership development for Teachers College at Columbia University. So there's multiple ways I can take care of my family. Now,
and for other DEI consultants, what was that switch for you when you said, okay, I don't just want to do this in the school as an employee, but I also want to be my own boss? What happened?
So when I was a principal, I worked.
Keep it real.
So when I was a principal, I found out, once I got hired, I found out one of the reasons why they hired me was because I had a cultural competency background, leading development as an assistant principal. Because once I started my doctorate in 2010, that was my 4th year as assistant principal. Within the first semester, I learned about cultural responsiveness and relevance. And I said, oh, that's what I've been doing. So I started embedding that in our discipline practices, everything. Love and logic, I would do it from a culturally responsive lens. I would take I would decenter the whiteness in it and racialize it. Because our campus was 90% Hispanic. 90% Hispanic. The people who wrote this stuff are not Hispanic. So I racialized it, and we didn't use all the tenants. We just used the ones that work for our campus. So when they looked at my LinkedIn profile, my resume and my vita was on there. Because when you're in a PhD program, I know I'm offending people. When you are in a PhD or an EDD program that is worth its salt, you're supposed to have a curriculum vita throughout your program. My curriculum vita started in 2010 when I started my doctorate. So 4 years later, when I got recruited, they looked at my CV in public ed, not higher ed, and saw all the presenting I had done. Okay? I'm saying that because there's some doctoral students out there that don't have a CV. That's not good.
How did they? Yeah. So do you think they need to get some coaching on that, or what? How would you recommend they get?
They need to go to their chair or their dean and say, "How do I do a CV?" Or join us in Facebook on race mentoring. Plug. Because I'm like, come on, man. So they recruited me, and I get the principal job. A week later, I get an email saying, "Hey, you're going to start developing all new teachers on cultural competency." I'm like, what? I haven't even learned to be a principal. Y'all have been a principal 1 week. So for 4 years, I trained all new teachers on cultural competency and my staff. We did it every month. My former boss became a superintendent. And a month later in Illinois, she calls and said, "Hey, I need to talk to you. I need you to go get a vendor license or an LLC or something." I'm like, "For what?" "I need you to come do cultural competency training up here." That's how it happened. That was never in my purview to decide I'm going to be a
So you never said, "I'm going to be a business owner"?
No, I never said the opportunity. She said, "You need to go get your LLC or something." So I started consulting for her outside of Chicago in Thornton Fraction School District. And then once that started, then all of a sudden, what happened? I mentioned something to somebody, and then, I know what it was. I was a part of Talk to Action, which is a grassroots organization, group of people here in Denver, Colorado. And I was a part of RPI, which is an arm of that, which is Responding to Power and Influence. And I'm sitting there and I'm talking and one of my colleagues, who was a CEO of another charter network, turns around and says, "Hey, do you do leadership coaching?" And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "Let's talk." She hired me to coach one of her principals. So that was the second, and I said, "Wait a minute.
On something.
So I started talking to the wife, and we start trying to come up with ideas. I go to AERA. I get an email saying, "Hey, are you going to be at AERA?" I said, "Yeah. Can you meet with me?" And it's a representative from Teachers College, Columbia University, wanted me to be a professor for the summer spa program, the summer principal. I couldn't do it. So then she said, "Okay, would you coach?" So I wound up being an intern coach. So the following year, So I was doing it for a year, and then finally my wife and I, we settled on, the name is going to be Prosperity Educators. We're grounded in spirituality, hope, spirituality, which is ironically my second book my third book that'll be coming out probably January-ish. It's called The Power of a Praying Principal, and it talks about my spiritual walk as a principal in my high school. And it says an attitude of faith, hope, purpose, meaning, and spirituality in school. So Prosperity Educators is about faith, hope, meaning,
wow, that alignment.
So that's why we called it Prosperity Educators with the little tree roots. So that's how I wound up getting in there. And as soon as we transitioned this past year, business shot up. And then now, guess what? With everything going on, I started getting calls from corporations and cities, and hey, I can do that, but you got 1,000 employees. Like, let me send you to some colleagues of mine who can do that. I said, I have a full-time job now. If I didn't have a full-time job,
right?
Yes. But see, that's my secondary income. My main income is my full-time. So that's how I wound up becoming a consultant.
And that's been about a year since you've been having your own LLC.
A year with the LLC, but 2 years doing the work. I just didn't
Wow.
become an official LLC until last August.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And so for other consultants who want to go down that same path, would you recommend that they wait, or would you recommend that they just do it and then go market and get the work?
Just go do it.
Just do it.
And this is the way you do it. See, my former boss was so nice about it. This is what I found out from other consultants. People always ask you for your expertise. But some, like they know, like they'll come to you and say, hey, would you mind doing a presentation for us? And, you know, I'm like, yeah, because I like presenting. Hey, would you mind looking at this report? Start charging. Start charging.
And why? Why do
That's
you
what
feel?
you do.
So a lot of people, they say, oh, well, it's pure. The work's pure. What I'm doing is helping the community. Why should I charge?
Because they would pay someone else. Trust and
Why?
believe.
Why? And why? Why would they pay someone else?
Because that person charged them. See, if they know you're free, they're going to always come to you.
Thank you. Oh, thank you so much.
They're going to always come to you when they know you're free.
Every other day, I swear.
Yeah.
They will always go to the other person. And a lot of the times, guess what?
Yeah.
They go into the black or brown person who's free. And then they go into the white corporate who ain't.
They're going to come to you because you're free. As soon as you say, let me send you an invoice, then you get the stutter or the step back.
The step, exactly.
You get the step back.
Mm-hmm.
Now, and somebody would say, well, what do you charge? There's no real formula to the fee structure. I got some mentorship from a well-known consultant who taught me how to charge.
That's a great way to do it. Get a consult.
You can charge what you want. Again, I have a full-time job. I know that I'm way cheaper than a lot of other folks out there.
Right.
Like there are folks who would charge $10,000 for a 1 hour speaking engagement. There are folks that charge $5,000 for 3 hours of PD. I'm nowhere. Well, no, I'm not. I'm about maybe 50.
You don't have to say if you don't want.
Yeah.
You don't have to say you're.
You know, and it varies where it is in the country, how much travel I have to do. Like if I have to travel, they pay for the travel. I don't pay for my own travel. So my travel is in there. So if I'm flying to Hawaii, which I'm not, but if I was flying to Hawaii, my fee might be 20 G.
And for other consultants,
because they got to pay for that, and for the hotel, and for the rental car. So, and then they got to pay for my work. They got to pay for the time I put in to put the presentation and the work together. Then they got to pay for the time I'm in front of people.
It's for those other consultants who are feeling a little bit weird about charging because their whole life they've just been doing this in the community and they just don't want to taint the work. What's your advice to them to figure out how to make that mindset shift to be able to charge?
So you balance it. You know, you got to balance it. And at first it's very hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to say, hey, I need to charge you. It's hard. But what you start to do is put it out there that you have your own consulting business. Yeah, you know, I just started my consulting and, I got me a fee structure together. You start throwing that out there to let folks know, I got to start to charge you. I got to start to charge you. I can't meet that day because I have a contract. What do you mean? Well, the thing you asked me for, that's what I charge people for now. Boom. You got to let people know. There's some church members that reached out to me and my wife 2 months ago. They wanted to do a study on how to hold. No, it was in July. Yeah, 2 months ago. They wanted to do a study, do a community conversation on how to have race conversations among the community and the family.
That happens a lot. A lot of our consultants, they tell me that the church thing is a hard one.
But I told them, okay, I'm gonna send you an invoice. And within that invoice, I put my first book in there as a part of the fee. I haven't heard back. I'm like, okay. And I'm like, I can't drive all the way down there and not charge you for this work because this is understand, consultants, you're charging for your knowledge, your experience, and your emotional labor. Because sitting in there with 20 adults having race-based conversations gets very, very uncomfortable and it gets very, very tense. And when you walk out of there, you are tired. So to go do that for free and then they walk away refreshed, that's not fair to you. Now, I have done speaking engagements at a church where they have me come speak at the graduation, and they've asked me, what is your fee? And I've said nothing, because that's between me and God. That's a whole nother thing. Now, when TD Jakes called me when my book come out, yes, TD Jakes gonna get charged. when my book comes out, TD Jakes called me to speak on my book at the Potter's house. I'm charging TD Jakes. Hey. Joyce Meyer, what's his name? Not Eddie. Eddie done passed away. Whoever these big preachers are, y'all getting charged. Creflo, y'all getting charged. And what's cool about it is I might say no. Like, there's some very prominent people that I've already had said in my mind, I'm not going on your show. Oh no, because I'm disappointed. And I'm not gonna go in there and shuck and jive. I'm gonna say what it is. Like, I'm not starstruck by you. Let's be clear. I'm not starstruck. You're a billionaire? Cool. I'm not starstruck.
I think a lot of people, they have that concept where they think that, I've heard this so many times. Well, Kevin, so here's the strategy, right? I'm gonna go ahead and do like 10 free things, and I'm gonna build my resume.
Well, yeah,
you could do that, like, when? At what point in your career?
Well, see,
here we go.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So
let me phrase it a little bit. Let me package it a little bit. So, say it's a DEI consultant, maybe they're 35.
Yep.
They've been a teacher their whole life. They work with kids, and now people start to see their value, and they're starting to see theirs. And so they're starting to maybe get some influence that maybe they should start charging, but they're very hesitant to do so. So they say, I'm gonna go do some free work with some other consultants and like kind of shadow them and do like a bunch of Zoom calls all day, all that kind of stuff. And I'm gonna build my name, and then maybe I'll charge people later, maybe a year from now.
So, yes, that's okay to link up with a consultant. From what I heard, there are people who do that. I have a colleague that wants to do that with me, where they just want to shadow so they can see how I do the work. That's fine. But you can still go ahead and start charging. Here's the reason why, and this is why I rub my hand. You know how they say the game is to be sold, not told?
Yes.
That's Snoop Dogg. So
just in
that's
case
when
y'all
he went to
don't know.
No Limit. That curriculum vita that I started in my PhD program, I've been trying to get people to start doing that right now. Because let me tell you what happens. When you are a public school or when you are an employee of an organization and you do presentations, you're doing it for the organization for free. Yes, they're paying you that as a part of your job. That's how you hone your skills. So if you have a resume that talks about your work history, your CV, your curriculum vita is your knowledge and skill.
Right. So that's what you leverage to be that DEI consultant.
Yes, that's the expertise. So on my curriculum vita, like when I first started, my professor, Dr. Novella Carter, I never forget it. I said, what goes on my vita? She says, everything you've ever done. I said, what? She said, how long have you been a teacher? At that time, it'd been, what was it, 99 to 2010, 10 years. She said, have you ever done presenting? I said, yeah, all the time as an AP. Put it on your vita. She said, that's your expertise. And I said, what? She said, that is your expertise. My vita is almost 40 pages now. And that's nowhere near like anyone like.
Wow.
Like, this is like 100 and 150 pages. So mine is almost 40 pages. And when you look at mine, and to some people, that's a lot. When you look at mine, you see my work all the way back to when I was an English teacher. I went all the way back and came all the way. Like when I get off this right here, I'm going on my Vita and putting this on my Vita immediately. I update my Vita every single week.
Wow. Okay, we need to slow that down because that's gems for people because I don't think they fully got that. So.
Oh no.
Did you freeze? So when it comes to the curriculum vita, first of all, is it better to hire someone to do that? Or is it better to really just learn that from the start? And then what's your process for updating that and communicating that and marketing that to the right people? How do you actually market that?
So you do the video yourself.
Okay.
Because if someone else does it, then you don't know your own work. Like if you do it, you know what you've done. Like on my video, I can tell you what I've done. I know all the stuff I've done. So you do it yourself. And what you do is you can start with something that's recent. Like if you did a presentation last week, like go to Google and Google curriculum beta, and you can get beta templates. Find a prominent scholar or somebody you know who has a beta and say, hey, can I use your beta as a template? My beta came from my professor, but then because of the mentorship of Dr. Donna Ford out of Ohio State, I borrowed, she shared her beta and I borrowed the way she did her beta, and I just combined both betas into this.
Got it.
Because I have so much work, she showed me how to break it down. So your beta starts with, like, my beta has a section that says professional development presentations. Any PD I've done from when I was a teacher to as far as last week, all of it's on there.
And do you have to have a PhD for that, for the Vita?
No, you don't have to have a PhD for a Vita.
Got it.
No.
Got it.
So, and then like, let's go back to the title page. The title page has my name. It has my title in my organization.
Gotcha.
My consulting. It has my email. And then it has my educational experience. Then it has my work. It's almost like a resume to start off. My work experience. And then it gets to my expertise, my areas of research focus. Now I get to, what else is on there? My publications. Now I have publications. And they just say
Gotcha.
this, all the way down to professional development. So if you pull the Vita off of Google, you can use that as a template and just put it out. So start with that. And as far as marketing that, something happened with LinkedIn where that's not on there no more, that option. I used to have it on LinkedIn, but I update it every week. And what happens is that it's on my own website. It's on my website, www.draaarongriffen.com. It was posted on LinkedIn. I usually send it when people, like, I just got somebody that reached out and said, hey, would you be interested in during a conference?
Got you. Use it as your bait.
Right. So for that, I didn't charge. They're like, hey, would you be interested in presenting? Because it's an international conference. Yeah. I present there because now my voice is spreading overseas. Yeah. I uploaded my beta and said, hey, just so you know, here's my beta. And what tends to happen, what has happened about half the time, they see my beta and suddenly they say, hey, I want to partner you with somebody. Like, prime example. Today, I didn't even have to share my beta today. Somebody has my beta. I was on a call today. I got an email asking me if I would be interested in being a board member for a new charter in Denver. So I said, wow, board member. You know, that's volunteer.
Right.
So I'll go to the presentation to see what's up. Before we got off, the lady said, hey, can you hold up, Aaron? Everybody got off. She says, hey, one of my friends at the League of Charter Schools mentioned you. And I say, yeah, that person has my Vita. I consult for them.
Wow.
And I'm presenting at their conference in 2 weeks. No, in next month, October. Hey, we have this thing that's coming. Would you be interested in being one of our trainers? They said, we already got the grant money.
Brilliant.
Would you be interested in being one of our trainers? And I said, yeah. That's the power of that Vita. That's how I teach in college. I sent them my Vita because I wanted to be one of their professors. They asked me would I do it, be a leadership coach. Yes. So that's why that Vita, you just market it. Like when you're talking to people, when people are asking for a job reference, like looking for a job or something, put that Vita up there. Post it on LinkedIn, not for the whole world, but it's like a place where I think you can put it. I just haven't found it.
Yep. So folks, you can put that on your about section on your LinkedIn, like where it says featured. So you can showcase your Vita, your website, cover letter, all that good stuff.
Yes, that's where you put it. But something happened. It's not letting me do it. It doesn't look
Yeah,
the same.
I know why. It's because you got to hit add profile section.
Ah, damn. There you go.
There you go.
Yeah, I got to get it back.
They deleted it, so they didn't make it the default anymore. So you got to go back into the back end, add it as a profile section.
Like after this, I'm sending you my Vita.
Yeah.
Everybody I do a podcast with or a panel with, I send all of them my Vita because that's my way of letting you know, hey, I'm available. My Vita got me I'm about to do a conversation September 10th with the Spurs. One of my colleagues in Texas got me on a panel to speak to the Spurs organization. Popovich might be there. Some of the players might be there. We're doing it virtual. I'm gonna get to talk about COVID-19, xenophobia, and racism, and the impact on the community from the P12 perspective. I'm on a panel with 2 professors.
Wow.
Texas A&M San Antonio. That Vita, because they asked for it, they say, hey, we need to see his Vita. Okay, yeah, he can do it. They always ask about that Vita. They want to know, are you who you say you are? And they will Google you.
Yeah.
So don't put something on there that's not true. Because they will Google you.
So for you, man, how you been staying healthy with everything going on, man? With COVID and being a black man and what you're seeing, man. How's the fam? What's going on?
Well, here's the deal. I love that you asked that question because in my network, we're really focusing on social emotional health and wellness. Right. And I have a network of people who will email me and call me and say, Aaron, you need to step away. Because they can see it. Like when everything happened with George Floyd and everything, right. My boss called me, the chief operating officer called me, the CEO called me, my colleague, I had principals call me, they teamed me, Aaron, are you okay? I see you online. If you need a day, take 2 days. Like my boss was literally giving me a directive to take a day. And I'm like, no, because if I take a day, it's going to be worse because now I'm sitting in my head. I got to do something productive. There's an article I read on racial trauma. And one of the ways is trying to figure out something constructive. If I sit alone, it's like, I don't know if y'all know who Scarface is. I sit alone in my room staring at candles. That's from my mind's playing tricks on me. So you're so hip hop right there, not this lecture I got right now. That's what I said. That's old school.
I'm gonna get your top 5 in a sec. Don't worry.
Oh, don't worry. I got you.
Don't worry. But keep going.
So what I do, and you know, I'm a big dude. I lost 2 pounds. I'm 290 pounds today. So I'm a big dude. So I don't have high blood pressure. I don't have diabetes. I don't have high cholesterol. The reason is because I eat pretty well. I just overeat good food. Like I overeat bread. I overeat pistachio, things like that. In the evening for 30 minutes, I go in the closet. I lay on the floor, literally with a pillow in the darkness, with the closet closed, and for at least 30 minutes. Water. I listen to gospel music pretty much all day long. Every now and then, I listen to hip hop music just to balance it out.
I think you're cutting out a little bit.
Writing and
there we go. Back.
Back. This right here is a release for me.
In what way?
So writing,
when you say that,
presenting,
explain to people as a black man, how does that release happen for you? Is it the dopamine? Is it the emotion? What is the release?
Because I put my anger and my frustration into words on paper. My anger and frustration into words through presenting.
Got it.
I listen to gospel music and hip hop to make sense of the world. I'm a former literature major, so I learned that through the literary genres, music, whatever it is, I am able to make sense of the world. I go binge watch a bunch of movies like Lord of the Rings, and look at it from a critical race lens. Literally, like I looked at Star Wars through a critical race lens, Star Wars the last 3, and I said, Trump. I said Mitch McConnell is Palpatine, and Trump is the other guy. That's the way I interpreted the last Star Wars, the Last Jedi on it.
Wow,
that's how I released. And to go to the writing, when I was an English major, there was a poem I read called Ozymandias by Percy Bysshe Shelley. And the poem is very short. And it's literally talking about the Egyptian king, I think it's Ramesses, and they call him
Ramesses, correct. Yep. Moses
okay.
And Ramesses, yeah.
And at the end of it, it talks about the greatness of Ramesses as behold the kingdom of Ozymandias. And the traveler looks, he sees the sign, but all he sees is sand. The kingdom is gone. So the poet is poking fun at Ozymandias and that sign because he's been forgotten. Our professor said, can anyone tell us the irony? And we couldn't figure it out. He said the irony in this poem is that he wrote a poem poking fun at an Egyptian king that no longer exists. But because he put it in a poem, he is now immortalized. So that's why I write. The key to immortality, in many ways, is writing. Think about it. Think about
because like Pac, for example, he forever gonna be Pac.
And people will memorize. People will memorize those lyrics, and they'll spread your oral tradition is very real in the African, Native American, Latin American, Asian American community. The oral tradition. That's how our ancestors live with us. So that's why I always want to present. That's why I always want to write. That's why I do podcasts. Because when people hear me and when it's recorded and when it's on paper,
right,
it's immortalized. So that's how I get that release. Like if I can't go protest because I have asthma and I can't get arrested because I have 2 little kids at home who gonna take care of them, you know what? I'm gonna write an article and I'm gonna let it be known.
I love that.
Because
that's how I felt too.
Yeah.
When it comes to the protests specifically, they were very heavy in Seattle, where I'm from. Very heavy. So Trump actually tweeted. One of the leaders of the protests in Seattle and tweeted at him and called him a thug, basically. And those are people I personally know. So that was very wild. And I have a heart condition, so I can't go to large crowds or do, concerts or things like that like I used to. You know what I mean? So, I definitely hear you on that.
I get tear gas. That's not going to go well because I've been tear gas before, and that didn't go well. And it wasn't even for me. I was just there having a great time.
Wow.
Somebody had a fight. And all of a sudden, my eyes started burning, and I couldn't. I have a 9-year-old who had asthma. We can't do that. Yeah, and then I can get out there and maybe contract COVID. He has asthma.
I can't get that. I can't get that either.
Yeah, I can't do that.
Yeah.
So I fight my battles with this one.
Yeah, it's like a release for sure. So let's talk hip hop for a second, then we'll wrap up. So for you, when you think of hip hop, you probably think about it in a lot of ways, very multifaceted. So your race lens with hip hop, your personal taste, So let's break it down like this. So in all honesty, do you feel like the new generation of hip hop, like they just don't understand the power of what they're saying? Or do you feel like some of them do and they're actively choosing to be, I mean, if we're gonna be blunt and honest about it, there's music out there that literally sounds like they're trying to tell people to kill themselves or telling people to do drugs or whatever it is. Like, but the beat's banging. The beat's banging, right?
Yeah. And it's about the beat.
And it's always about the beat, right?
It's always about the beat.
Right. And I'm a songwriter as well. So I do music for TV and film. I've done music for TikTok, MTV. So a lot of my clients, when I do those big shows, people want to know, like, okay, so I specifically chose to pretty much do majority of instrumental instead of rap, right? But sometimes I do, and sometimes I do use language, right? But how do you reconcile that in your head? Because I know you like your Pac and you like it the way it is.
Yeah.
You like your Jay-Z the way it is, right? So how do you conceptualize, like, this is rap music, this is positive, this is rap music, it's not so positive, but I'm gonna listen to it anyway.
Right. So I don't listen to rap right now.
Okay.
I really hadn't listened it's very rare. but it's also, unfortunately. So here's the thing: when rap music first started, I was that child. I'm a child of the '80s, mass incarceration, the crack, all that. So when Sugar Hill Gang and these folks came out, I was a little bit of kid, and I didn't know what was happening. But rap back then was more politically and socially conscious, rapping about the same stuff. But remember, profanity was not allowed on the airwaves, and it wasn't being sold necessarily. So it was real socially conscious, and I've always been a child who enjoyed the blues. So rap to me was a lot like the blues.
I see.
Okay. So then we get to the mid '80s, and now we have Cool J, we have Ghetto Boys, we have everybody coming out. I wasn't into rap still. I can hear the music, and I like the beats.
Looks like he froze. Looks like he froze.
Yeah, I'm ready for recording. I got to keep up with my hip hop.
Let's get it. Okay, yeah. So pop. Okay, so my favorite. We're recording now.
We get to the mid '80s.
Yep.
Okay, we get to the mid '80s.
LL Cool J. Yep.
Ghetto Boy. So I was more into the beat, not the lyrics.
Right.
So then we get to the '90s, and again, still the beat, not the lyrics. I get the Prairie View, and I really sit down and they kept saying, man, just listen to the lyrics. So I finally listened to the lyrics and I went, dog it, this Scarface cat, he's telling a story. And I could relate to his story. So then I started listening to Tupac, and Brenda's Got a Baby is one of my favorite of all time. And I'm like, it's a story. So then I was back in hip hop, Slick Rick, everybody started just listening. And as the '90s moved forward, I did find a little problematic.
With some of the language.
Thrown around a lot.
Yep.
The HOE was thrown around a lot. And, and I was like, but then I went through a phase where cultural and social influence, guess what?
Yep.
I'm in it. I'm saying the lyrics and everything.
Yep.
Then I get back to the 2000s and I get married, and that's out of my vocabulary. I have kids now. That's out of my vocabulary. So to compare the hip hop now, no, and to say, like, I have a problem when people say I don't understand. That's not true. Don't say you don't understand.
Yeah, that's a lie. That's a lie.
Yes, you do. So, and usually I don't understand is a fragility point. I just don't understand why we're doing this. Well, because I said so. Why do you have to understand? Or you're choosing not to understand. I told you why we told you why Black Lives Matter. We've told you about this. We've told you about that. What do you mean you don't understand? It's right in front of you. Don't tell me.
That fragility point when someone goes, oh, well, you said Black Lives Matter, but all lives matter is their response. That's that fragility point.
I've always asked this question. I started asking people a few weeks ago, what would have happened if Black people had said all lives matter? I guarantee you there would have been something else for people to pop up. They would have found something else to contradict it. Guarantee you.
You know what it probably would have been? It probably would have been, so if Black Lives Matter, and our whole organization was rebranded as All Lives Matter, you're right. Somebody's going to poke fun at that and go, really? Well, all lives doesn't mean all something, right? They're going to pick one little new.
It would have been like American Lives Matter.
Or what about immigrant or whatever? Like they're going to pick something that wasn't.
They would have.
Wait a minute. What about? Yeah.
So when you asked early on about do the new generation understand? Yeah. Or maybe they do. They know exactly what they're doing.
Like all these little TikToks and stuff, and they get it.
They know exactly what they're doing.
Okay.
What did Cardi B say? People aren't buying social rap from women. That's what Cardi B is, as upset as people want to get. Cardi B is telling the truth. People are not buying socially conscious women rappers. They're buying sexually explicit women rappers. If you don't want to see it, don't buy it.
Got it.
She's marketing. And that's the thing about this capitalism in America. People market to what people ask for and run to. That's supply and demand. So they market to it. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. That's what it is. So these rappers know what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing. They, in my opinion, 99% of them can't rap. I know I can't. But when I try to listen to it, I'm like, this is garbage. I'm like, I don't even know what this dude said. And it's the same beat. It's the same beat. It's the same trap beat.
It's the Lex Luger 808 from like 2009. They just kept replacing the 808 with like a C sharp.
Beat. Just like Zydeco. I'm about to upset some New Orleans people. Just like Zydeco. When we was at Prairie View. It's the same beat. And I love my New Orleans folks. Hey, love you. Love you.
But I really like, okay, I'm going to keep it real because opinion though on this guy because he's dear to my heart, right? You know who Big Sean is?
Yeah.
He just dropped the album today. Detroit.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that. Now, hold up.
Now.
What was that rap we had with Drake? Was it Drake? No, that was lit. No, Big Sean. I forgot what it was. Oh no, what is it? Is that the one? Is that the one with 2 Chainz?
Okay, so
On
let's see
Me.
what we're saying. Yeah, On Me. Let's see what other ones.
Him and Drake, Big Sean,
him, Jam, and 2 Chainz.
No, that's what it was. It was My Click, boy.
My Click, boom. Control with Kendrick Lamar. Remember Control?
I did. You know what? I went on and listened to Kendrick Lamar. He's nice. He's
definitely an acquired taste, though.
I like that one he did with what's his name? Shadow, the dude from Iron Man.
Yeah.
John Chapman. I like that video. I was like, man, this tight right here. No, he's nice.
And so here's what people will say. They'll go, okay, so it's like the Holy Trinity, basically, right? So it's like Big Sean, Kendrick Lamar, J. Cole, right?
Yeah.
And people say, and Drake, of course, right? So maybe 4. So those 4 people. Outside of that, you got your Cardi B's, your Meg Thee Stallion, all this new age stuff, Little Uzi Vert, all these names that don't make sense, da. Yeah. But when we're talking about those 4 particular people, I think they did the business right, and I think that they also are being authentic to who they are. Yeah, Drake's not pretending to be some gangster rapper.
Yeah, he's not
flying on songs.
But he got some jam.
Oh, he got some exactly.
I know what I listen to in the airport. I know what I listen to walking through the airport. I know what I listen to. Yeah, but you asked. I know before we close, you wanted to know my top 5.
I need to know it. I'm sorry, I got it. You got it.
So
I know it's hard to give you like to concise like that, but yeah, I need it.
No,
I need it.
I have my top 5. And
you do? Okay.
I'm a loyalist. So let's be clear, I'm a loyalist. So number 1 for me is Scarface. Period. Number 2 is Pop. Number 3 is Biggie. Number 4, well, I think it kind of switched out. Well, number 4 for me was Eminem. And then number 5 for me was DMX. Those are my 5.
Ooh, I like that list. Ooh.
That's my 5. And people were like, man, how are you going to put DMX? Because of the time he came out.
Yeah.
What I was going through, that's what spoke to me. Him and Eminem, I don't care what anybody say. That boy's lyricism. I'm gonna tell you what I used to do when I was writing my document. When I was struggling writing and getting writing block, I would listen to Eminem.
Wow.
And Tupac. I would listen to Eminem and Tupac for like an hour, and then sit down and write. That's how I got through my document. I would listen to Eminem when I was feeling kind of like depressed or like depressed, like down. I listened to Scarface and DMX. No, Scarface. When I'm feeling like, because I live in the suburbs, when I'm feeling like, I want to let people know, don't let the suit. I'll listen to Biggie and DMX because there's a reason behind it. And I remember my wife would get upset. I would roll down the street and put the windows down and play "Where the Hood." In Houston, in Cypress in Houston, I would roll through "Where the Hood" real slow. That's what I do. So that's my top 5, and no one can break that. I mean, that's my top 5.
It's like bro. Like real people, they don't want. It's our top 5 for a reason. It's not yours.
That's my top 5.
That's your top 5. Your experience, your lived truth. Like that's your top 5.
Yeah. So somebody's gonna say, people ask me all the time, man, how is Jay-Z not in there? Because he's not. Tupac didn't like him.
Speak to you like that.
No, Tupac didn't like him. So I'm a loyalist. Tupac didn't like him. Real talk. Nas should be in there too. Tupac didn't like him.
Oh, that's hilarious. That's
and
hilarious.
People are like, well, what about Biggie? I think that was a misunderstanding. But he went at Jay-Z all the time.
Wow. Because Nas is in my top 5 just because he spoke to me for a reason. Like there's a certain way about him.
If I ruled the world,
that song when I was a kid got me through some things. So that automatically is just.
Nas is in my top 10.
Yep.
Nas is in my top 10.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't listen to Jay-Z very much, but I will put Jay-Z in there. Cube is in there.
Yep.
You see what I'm saying? Cube's in there. Yep. Who else? Shoot.
Okay, when people say KRS-One, he didn't really speak to me. I get that he's an elite MC, but he don't speak to me. He's just not. Yeah.
When I go back and listen to him, I'm like, nah.
Nah, exactly.
No.
Yeah.
I like the beats like Eric Sermon. I like the beat. You got to chill. I like the beat.
But if we talking like top producers and all that stuff, sure. Maybe I might put people that I would never listen to their lyrics in there, but that's not the same thing.
Yeah.
Like Dre, Dr. Dre would be in that list for sure.
Right. Like people were saying sacrilegious that I got Eminem so high over all these other people. Well,
right.
Put him on a microphone 1-to-1 with whoever you got.
Right.
In a battle rap.
Problem.
Or why don't you just listen to the songs where he bodied the person he on the song with? That's why you don't want Eminem on your song.
Mm-hmm.
You don't. I mean, anytime this dude shows up for a song and you got to go re-record your part because of what he just said, yeah, okay.
That's a problem. Yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah. When you got to go re-record your stuff because of what he just said, that tells you, I don't care what you say, that Eminem, when that fool rapped in Pig Latin, when he rapped in Pig Latin on that song,
wow,
excuse my e-patent, like, I was like, what? This fool rapped in Pig Latin.
Yeah, so what's sad is Big Sean just dropped a song on his album with Eminem and like 7 other rappers. It didn't matter what anybody else said in the song. And then he hopped on and was like, okay, I see what's going on here.
I want to hear him because he's subliminal with his messages. And every time somebody says he can't do it, he raps another one. I'm like, man, I can't touch this dude. Big when the Notorious Thugs. Nobody knew Biggie could rap fast like that. I was like, oh.
So let the people know a little bit about how they can get in touch with you, what your website is, your business, and I want to make sure that people connect with you after this.
Absolutely. My website is www.draaronjgriffen.com or www.prosperityeducators.com. You can reach me on LinkedIn at Aaron J. Griffen, PhD. I'm on Facebook. Just hit me up, Aaron J. Griffen. You can email me at ajgriffen1974@gmail.com. You want me to come do some work with you, I can. I got a book coming out in October. Woo! It's going to be finished today. I got the intro and everything done. It's called Challenges to Integrating Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Program in Organizations. Got a book coming out probably 2 months after that with my cohort member, Dr. Isaac Carrier. That one's called Fighting the Good Fight, National Narratives of the African American Principleship. Then my book, The Power of a Praying Principle, will be coming out probably immediately after that. So please support, get the books. We rocking and rolling. All
Equity Group, we're gonna be supporting you, posting that, getting it lit. But
absolutely,
this has been awesome.
Can I post it in the All Equity Group? You said we can't promote our business. Can I promote?
I'm gonna post it for you.
Can you put the book in there?
I don't want
I'll
you to
send
do
you
the
the book
stuff
link so
from.
you can post it.
So what you should do?
Got
Here's
it.
just here. Hold on.